Kofi Asare sat at his carved wooden desk in the study of his sprawling Kumasi mansion, overlooking the vibrant Kejisha market in the distance. His Kent cloth was neatly draped over his shoulder, his gold cufflinks glinting faintly in the lamplight. He stared at a faded photo of Abina, his hand resting on his chin, the other limb by his side. For an hour, he hadn't moved, his chest heavy with a quiet shame. Kofi Asare was a legend in Kumasi. His textile empire, 5 warehouses, 8 shops, and a fleet of delivery vans, had made him the king of Ghana's fabric trade. His mansion, with its marble floors and imported chandeliers, was a landmark. His name graced TV screens, and his wealth supported not just his family but countless others. Yet, despite his success, his 3 children, Kwabena, Afia, and Kwadwo, were his deepest disappointment. Abina had died when the children were young. Her family had cast Kofi Asare out, leaving him with 2 toddlers and a newborn, a single duffel bag, and nothing else. He'd slept in a friend's storeroom, hawked cloth in Kejisha's scorching sun, and skipped meals to buy fufu for his children. He'd borrowed from market women, prayed through sleepless nights, and fasted for weeks to pay school fees. From a single store, he built an empire, importing fabrics from India and Dubai, paying cash for every brick of his mansion. But now, surrounded by his wealth, he whispered, "My children are useless." Kwabena, his eldest, had studied in London, funded by Kofi Asare's dollars. He returned declaring he'd be an entrepreneur like Papa. Kofi Asare gave him 50,000 cedis to start a shoe import business. It collapsed in months, with no explanation. Next came a crypto venture, then a car rental app, each idea more absurd, each funded by Kofi Asare, each a failure. Yet Kwabena wore Italian suits and called it experience. Afia, the middle child, returned from university obsessed with content creation. Kofi Asare bought her cameras, lights, and converted a room into a studio. 6 months later, she quit, saying, "Nobody watches my videos." She then started an online jewelry business, funded by 20,000 cedis from Kofi Asare. The stock vanished, she'd modeled it all. Kwadwo, the youngest, got a girl pregnant, refusing marriage. "I'm not ready, Papa," he said, but his girlfriend, Mame, moved into the mansion, acting like its queen. Now, the house was chaos, 3 grown children, a loud daughter-in-law, 2 grandchildren, and Kofi Asare footing every bill. That night, he reached into his drawer, pulled out a business card for Barrister Mensah, and dialed. "I want to test my children," he said. "If they fail, I'll teach them what life never did." Mid-evening, Kofi Asare staged his plan. He staggered into the mansion, his Kent askew, his briefcase dropping to the floor. Before anyone could speak, he collapsed onto a sofa, wailing, "I'm finished. Everything is gone." Kwabena rushed in, phone in hand. Afia followed, her wig half off. Mame paused her TikTok video, lipstick smudged. "Papa, what happened?" Kwabena asked. Kofi Asare sobbed, "A fire in Kejisha. It started in my warehouse. Thieves looted everything, my stock, my savings, even the new shipments from India. I'm ruined." The room went silent. Afia gasped, "Papa, what will we do?" Kofi Asare looked at her, eyes wet. "What do you mean, we? I have only this house and my car left. The accounts are empty." Kwabena muttered, "But my son's birthday is next month," Afia added, "and my photo shoot next week." Kofi Asare stood, voice breaking. "Birthdays. Photo shoots. This is how I know I failed as a father. He dragged himself upstairs, leaving them stunned. The next morning, he stayed in bed. By noon, the driver announced he'd been sacked. By evening, all staff were gone. Kofi Asare claimed he couldn't pay them. The mansion, once a hive of activity, turned silent. Kofi Asare watched his children, waiting for them to step up. They didn't. By the first week, the fridge emptied. Kwabena lounged in the yard, complaining about heat. Afia sighed over Instagram, hoping for giveaways. Mem cooked jollof for herself, her children, and Kwadwo, leaving none for Kofi Asare. One evening, Kofi Asare ate kenki with groundnut, his eyes stinging. Afia once returned with takeout, locking her door to eat alone. When Kofi Asare knocked, she said, "Papa, it was just more." Kwadwo's girlfriend, Mem, demanded Kofi Asare clean dishes, saying, "We are not your mates." Kofi Asare swept the compound daily, his children stepping over his broom without a glance. By the third week, Kofi Asare fell ill, fever, cough, weakness. He asked Kwabena for help to visit a clinic. "Papa, money's tight," Kwabena said. "Take paracetamol." Alone, Kofi Asare walked to a pharmacist, begging for malaria drugs on credit. The man who donated boreholes to Kumasi now pleaded like a stranger. That night, he whispered, "God, they failed." His children grew bolder. Afia snapped, "Papa, the floor smells. Mop it with Dettol." Mem rolled her eyes, "You left plates in the sink. Are we pigs?" When Kofi Asare confronted Kwadwo, he shrugged. "Mama, Mem is stressed. Everyone must pitch in now that you're broke." One afternoon, Kwabena stormed in. "Papa, move. I need the mirror for a video." He muttered, "Some fathers give wealth, mine gives shame." Kofi Asare snapped. "Everyone, out here now." They gathered, unbothered. Kofi Asare pointed at them. "I built this house with my sweat, my tears, Abina's dreams. You treat me like a servant." Kwabena scoffed. "The same house in my name, Papa. The papers say, Kwabena. You wanted to control us forever. Now you're broke, a liability. Be grateful we let you stay." Mem added, "We've decided you should leave. Go to an old folks' home. We need peace." Afia dragged the suitcase, packing Kofi Asare's clothes. "It's mutual, Papa. You want rest, we want peace." Kwadwo opened the door. "Go with dignity." Kofi Asare walked out, Kent clutched tight. The gate slammed. He checked into a luxury hotel in Kumasi, ordered banku and tilapia, and cried for hours. The city lights of Kumasi below. No calls from his children. Instead, he heard from Kwame that they were boasting, "We own the mansion now." Kofi Asare dialed Barrister Mensah. "Bring the will." "Tomorrow." Barrister Mensah arrived. Kofi Asare, in a crisp kaftan, said, "Remove my children as heirs. My new next is the Empowerment Fund for Market Women and Youth." Barrister Mensah hesitated. "Are you sure?" Kofi Asare smiled, pained. "The market women who lent me cloth treated me better. My legacy belongs to them." What his children didn't know was that Kofi Asare's fire was a test. There was no blaze in Kejisha. Kofi Asare had staged the collapse to teach them gratitude. But there was a deeper truth. Years ago, he discovered his main supplier was smuggling counterfeit fabrics, tainting his brand. To protect his customers and Ghana's textile industry, Kofi Asare had cancelled the shipments, absorbing massive losses. He'd sold his personal assets to pay his workers and suppliers, nearly bankrupting himself. He'd kept it secret, not wanting pity or to burden his children. Black SUV, flanked by Barrister Mensah and 2 policemen. Kwabena stepped out, in flip-flops, toothbrush in hand. Afia froze, phone mid-scroll. Kofi Asare, in royal purple Kent, stood tall. Barrister Mensah handed them an envelope. 7-day quit notice. This property belongs to Kofi Asare. Afia screamed, please. Kofi Asare raised a hand. Keep your tears. To Kwabena, he said, you said I was a liability, waiting for me to die. Here's 50,000 cedis each. Build your own empire. My legacy is mine. Kwabena fell to his knees. Afia sobbed. Kofi Asare didn't flinch. I raised you, but I won't be buried by you. The police escorted them out, their heads low. Kwabena and Afia rejected the money, vowing to prove Kofi Asare wrong. Kwabena started a tire business with borrowed funds. It failed when he imported faulty stock. Afia launched an online boutique, but customers dragged her for scams. Kwadwo and Mem squatted with friends, broke and humbled. 3 months later, they returned to the mansion gate, clothes worn, eyes sunken. Gatemen, tell Papa we're here, Afia said. Kofi Asare let them in. They knelt, crying. We've suffered, Papa, Kwabena said. Forgive us. Kofi Asare asked, have you learned what it means to walk? They nodded. Good, he said. My forgiveness is free, but my wealth is gone. I've given it to the Empowerment Fund. This house belongs to a foundation. You threw me out, now it serves those who never had. They gasped. Kofi Asare continued, I faked the fire to test you. The real loss was years ago, when I saved my business by losing my savings. I wanted you to learn. He handed them the 50,000 cedis each. They'd refused. Use this. Build your own. Let your children respect what you create, not what you take. They wept, but peace settled in. Kofi Asare watched from his balcony, sipping sobolo, whispering, let them grow. The Kejisha market buzzed below, and Kofi Asare smiled, knowing his legacy would lift others, even if his children had to start from scratch.